Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having an excellent day. Today I want to look at the solo from Two Princes by Spin Doctors because it's a very nice rock and roll guitar solo and it's got a lot of the elements that rock guitar solos needs in it. It's pretty fast. It's a sort of a stream of notes. It never ends. There's very little time to pause and to recapture what you need to play after. You don't have time for that, so you start and it has to be sort of perfect from beginning to the finish. And everything that is in there needs to be quite accurate because they're all rock and roll kind of things like bends and slides and little fast runs, and it needs to be on the beat every time, otherwise it sounds a bit sloppy. So that's why I think it's a really good solo to practice, because if you can play this solo, there's a lot of other stuff that you can't play because the techniques are in here, and this one is quite fast and it needs to be precise, so that will be usable for the rest of the things you are going to play. The other interesting thing is that the song is actually in D. The verse is just a 1, 6, 5, 4 progression. In this case, D, B minor, A major, and G major. It's almost like a rhythm change. So that's for the verse. So it's in D major. But the guy, and that's the nice thing of it, he sort of plays a pentatonic minor solo, more or less, over the major chord progression. So since it's in D, you would assume that the correct scale would be D major or D major pentatonic, which is the same notes as B minor pentatonic. But if you would play a blues, you would play D minor pentatonic. And that's sort of what he does. But if he would stay in that D minor area, it would sound too bluesy. And that's why all the notes that he plays in the D minor that are different to the D major, most of the time he bends them to a major one. So it sounds complicated, but in D minor, the C is a natural one. In D major, it would be a C sharp. It would be C, so it would be this. So every time he plays a C, he sort of bends it to a C sharp a lot. Same thing happens with the third of D, which is in D minor an F, and in D major an F sharp. So a lot of times when he plays an F, he sort of bends it to an F sharp to bring it back to that D major tonality, which is really nice, and he does it really tasteful and at the right spot every time. So really well done. So let's have a look at a few of the licks. So the first part of the solo is on the verse. As I said, it's D, B minor, A, and G. And he plays a D minor lick to start with. So just D and F. And straight away that F is not in the D major chord, because in the D major should be an F sharp. So he brings that, he bends that to a F sharp. straight away D minor, but hinting or pushing it to the D major where it technically should be. So it does that, and then stays in D minor, and then you got that lick. And again, this is what I said before, it brings it from D minor to D major. He slides, well, he actually bends the E to an F sharp, and then plays the D on top of that, which makes it very clear a D major. So in a D minor solo playing, he's using the major third. After that, same thing. So here, this is B and D, so the sixth and the root, and then he bends that flat 7, which is the C again, to a C sharp, because in that part he's playing on the A chord, and A has a C sharp, which is in the D major scale, but not in the D minor. So he slightly half bends it to an A. And he clearly plays actually an A. And after that, he needs to play a G. So he pushes that same C, not to a C sharp, but to a D. That D, so the second bend, brings the C sharp to a D, and that is part of the G chord. And here, again, on that F, he bends it to an F sharp, and then back to the D. Genius. There, but that's C sharp again. That is in the C major, sorry, in the D major scale, not in the D minor scale. And then you got that little run here. That's on the G chord, which is the chorus actually, and the chorus I have to check is oh boy, G D G A, yeah. I'm sorry, so G, D, G, A, and we're on the G here, and he plays E minor pentatonic, which is totally correct, because G major and E minor pentatonic are the same notes, so they're related. This bluesy lick. And this is, he plays the same bend 3 times, and every time it's different. So the first time it's, so it sounds like, the second time he plays it, it's, so there you have to release the bend. And the third time, he does a very short step with that chromatic descending line, which is a very typical blues line. Really nice. And I'm back to that E minor pentatonic. This is on that A chord. So all of these little bends are sort of bluesy country bends. And he plays these 2 bends slightly ahead of time. If you listen to the recording, it's slightly ahead of the timing, and it's really tasteful, but I tend to play that on the beat every time, so I have to really force myself to play that just before the beat. And then to end, this. And it lands on the D, which is the tonic of the first chord. It all falls into place perfectly. I love this solo. It's a great little tool to practice. It's quite fast, a lot of notes, and all the little rock and roll cliche licks are in there. I love that little lick. So tasteful. All right, guys, that was it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.